Several weeks ago, a personal anecdote was told the time when, after being with Divine Mother for several years, I woke up one morning and began my salute to the sun, the asanas that started every day of my life, when I fell in a heap, sobbing. And I went to pick up the phone and I said to Divine Mother, the love has gone. And she said, come, now, I've been waiting for this. So I gathered myself up and went to her house and fell in front of her still crying. And she said, good, it was the wrong kind of love. I was shattered. She had always told us that there was only one power, one love. How could she say it was the wrong kind of love? So it enabled the question to be posed to all of us. Why was it the wrong kind of love? And if you don't mind, there's another personal anecdote of those years with Divine Mother. And you could say it was the beginning of storytelling. When living in Hawaii, it was, we were just there on a temporary residence visa. And after being with Divine Mother, there was no expectation or intention that I would join her meditation gatherings. But one day I was sitting with a friend who had introduced me to Divine Mother, and I found myself thumping the table, saying to her, they don't know who she is. And so my friend passed this on to Divine Mother, and Divine Mother said, well, let her come and tell them. So this is when I started to join Divine Mother's meditation groups, and she had me sitting beside her, and she would nudge me and say, you can speak now. And so that was when I found that there was a store of stories somewhere inside, and out would come a story with the intent of telling people who she was. But after another several years, Divine Mother called me to her, and she said, what you tell people is too high for them. They don't understand what you're talking about. And I was shattered, because to me, in sitting beside her, when she nudged me, there had been no preparation. Out of somewhere would come the story, but a story with the intent of imparting to those who were there who she was. But I was shattered. What could be done? So again, like the previous question, why was it the wrong kind of love? The question that arises from this is, why was what was being said too high, not able to be understood by those who were gathered there? From our own experience, how would you answer these questions? Why was it the wrong kind of love? And why was the message that was being imparted too high for those who were there? But as always, there's a story. It's the story of a king who had an only and beloved daughter, who he kept sequestered guarded from life, cosseted so that she could not be exposed to the sadness, the evils, the experiences of life. But she grew pale and wan, and she took to her bed, obviously slipping into a state which would take her out of her body. The king was bereft, and he called all his advisers to him as to what could be done. They called physicians, soothsayers, magicians, but nobody could heal the princess's state. But then one wise man, maybe wiser than the others, spoke up to the king, and he said, "I have heard that there is a tree of life that has fruit, that when whoever eats of that fruit is healed of any affliction, any ailment." "Oh," said the king, "who knows where this tree is? I must have that fruit." And the advisor said, "Well, it is well known that the people of Jewish faith know of this tree." And so immediately the king sent out for the leading rabbis of his city. And when they were brought before him, the king said, "You have 3 days to bring to me an apple from the tree of life. Otherwise I will ban all of your people from my city." Now the rabbis went away, 3 of them, and discussing amongst themselves, they knew that none of them knew where the tree of life, which bare the fruit, could be found. So in a state of great despair, as the hours ticked away, one of the rabbis went back to his house, and there was his daughter, and she could see her father was terribly, terribly troubled, and asked him, "What is it, father?" And the father explained that they would be banished if they could not bring to the king fruit from the tree of life. "Oh," said the daughter, a wise young being, "is it not said that those who are called the holy tzaddiks, the 36 hidden rabbis, know where this tree is to be found? And father, is it not said that there is an old hermit in the forest nearby, who it is said could be one of these 36? "Oh," said her father, "let us go immediately." And so they set out to enter the deep forest. And indeed, they did come to a very simple and humble hut, which they knew was the abode of this old and suspected to be holy man. When they opened the door, a great effulgent light was seen around him as he invited them in. When they entered, and he asked them what it was that had brought them there, rabbi told the story of what was occurring, immediately the old man went to his bookshelf and took down a heavy tome covered in dust, very, very old, and he opened that tome, and out of its pages fell a leaf that looked fresh as though it had been picked from a tree but moments before. And the old man said, "This leaf is said to come from the tree of life." And to both the surprise of the rabbi and his daughter, the old hermit turned to the daughter and handed her the leaf and said, "You are destined to enter this garden. Put this leaf under your pillow and dream." They left the Tzaddik's presence, and on their way they came to an inn because it was dark and night. So they spent the night at the inn, and the daughter put the leaf under her pillow, and in the night she dreamt. She dreamt that she entered a garden of a magnificence and a beauty that could never be known with human eyes. In every tree in that garden was an angel, and while there she asked the angels directions to the tree. They pointed the way to her, but told her no one could help her, that she had to choose herself, because in fact there were two trees, two identical trees, both bearing fruit. But she had to choose which was the tree of life. So, entering deeply into the garden, she finally came to the two magnificent trees, identical, fruit hanging from their branches. She looked and looked, wondering which of them was the tree of life. As she gazed, looking up into their branches, in one of the trees she saw a serpent. She immediately knew that this tree was the tree that is known as the tree of knowledge. So it must be that the other was the tree of life. She immediately, in her dream, plucked fruit, an apple, it is said, from that tree, and taking it with her, she went out of the garden. In the morning, when the daughter awoke, there on her pillow was a bright, fresh, new apple. She took this apple immediately to her father, and they rejoiced together and set out straight away for the palace. When they arrived there, their joy overflowed from them, this could be seen by the king, who immediately took them into the chamber where the princess lay pale, near death, and the apple was placed under her nose. As soon as she took in the fragrance of this apple, her eyes opened. She was invited to take an part of the fruit, and with the first bite, rose came back to her cheeks. She sat up, full of life. What does this story mean for us? Even as we ask these questions that have been posed, why was it the wrong kind of love? Why was it that that was imparted was said to be not understandable? What has it got